Hi there, I'm nicodehaan, and welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore and return to a more balanced and natural wild world.
To recover our natural health, regain our rights and freedoms. I'm Ellen Dehan,
It's a beautiful day in Durango, Colorado,
up on the mountain,
up on the mountain. Yeah, 64 degrees with a high of 75, low of 45. It's been really quite nice out here.
and the humidity's been excellent.
Yeah, well, it's always dry here, for sure. You know, So it's a beautiful day, and please subscribe to our channel. Hit the follow button, hit the like button. We post on Facebook, also LinkedIn, and of course we're on YouTube.
Odysee.
Odyssey. Yeah, Odyssey, that's right. Oh, soon I forget. Hit the link below the show notes and maximize your nutrition from products from Mother Earth Labs. These are products that we use to supplement our diet. And we also look at mainstream news story about anti-aging, natural health, history, climate, as well as our freedom. And we do our own analysis. I suggest you do too. So all topics for today's show are in the show notes listed below in the description. Any questions or comments, you can reach me at nicodehaan@me.com. I've got some banners here I can put up. Let me see. Yeah. That's the one. And of course, Mother Earth Labs. I'm really good at this, but it's a lot of fun.
What?
Anyway, so let's start the show. We are looking at
Well, it's summertime.
Yep.
So we were thinking about things related to summertime. And of course, summertime, you think of the sun and being outdoors,
Going to the beach,
or hiking or whatever it is, swimming, being exposed to the summertime sun. So we decided to look a little further into kind of things like sunscreen.
Yeah, I stopped using sunscreen many, many years ago, and I guess we're going to talk a little bit about why. But I thought first we'd go through like a little history of sunscreen, which really goes back to about 4,000 years ago when the Egyptians were the first civilization to use extract, at least that we know of, right? Rice bran, jasmine, and lupin to block the tanning effects of the sun. Where rice absorbs the UV light, jasmine repairs DNA, and lupine lightens the skin. The lighter skin was cosmetically and culturally desirable for them.
Yeah, it's interesting because for so many centuries, light skin was associated with the wealthy and the privileged because the laborers got tan. And so the
yeah, that makes sense.
So the rich folks, it was a sign of honor and of status to have pale skin.
In fact, I remember during the Renaissance era, a lot of the English, maybe the French, and
I'm sure
that were putting powder on their face.
White to make them very white. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, from 800 to 500 BC, the Greeks protected their skin with a mixture of olive oil and sand while training under the sun for Olympic Games. And later, olive oil was confirmed to have an SPF rating of 8.
Okay. Yeah, an ancient Indian medicinal
Charaka Samhita.
Yeah, was a kind of zinc oxide was discovered, which is employed in physical sunscreens nowadays. So it seems like the ancient people knew a lot more than we did about things. So
1600 again, fair skin was given importance among the upper class females. Women covered their faces with uncomfortable vizards, in other words, scarves type things, to protect it from sunlight.
Yeah, let's go to the 1800s where...
in 1801, and it says here, Johann Wilhelm Ritter, who was a German fellow, first discovered UV radiation. I don't think he discovered it. I think he identified it because it was always there, right?
Yeah, it's just like discovering America.
Right. Okay, and in 1820, Sir Everard Home discovered the role of sunlight in skin burn. Oh, duh. I mean, you go outside, you sit in the sun, you get burned. I
Yeah.
mean, why did it take until 1820?
So we go up to 1891 when the first chemical sunscreen was formulated by
Friedrich Hammer.
He was German, using acidified quinine sulfate in lotion and ointment, which reduced the UVB-induced sunburn effect.
Yeah, now in 1896, a German physicist, Dr. Paul Unna, identified an association between skin carcinoma and sunlight. Yeah. And in 1910, he went on to develop a sunscreen from a chestnut oil and marketed it in the name of Zeazon or Ultra Zeazon.
1920, the idea of sunbathing and tanning became popular in the Western culture after Coco Chanel. Yeah, well, famous photographers.
No,
famous photographs.
Coco Chanel, the clothing designer.
Yeah, famous photographs were taken on a Mediterranean cruise. Tan skin became a sign of health and privileged life.
Yeah, so now we
switched. Yeah,
right. It switched because what it implied then was you had leisure time.
Yeah,
you could lie in the sun and just do nothing. Okay, in 1928, 2 German scientists created the first commercially available sunscreen, which contained benzyl salicylate and benzyl cinnamate, which absorbed UVB very effectively. Yeah,
there was also a formulation of tanning oil that was named Amber Solaire. Ambre Solaire, which contained benzyl
salicylate and para-amino benzoic acid, which is the PABA. PABA is what they were for a long time were advertising. Oh, our sunscreen has PABA in it.
Yeah, I don't remember that part.
Yeah.
1938, Swiss chemist. He got sunburned while climbing
a mountain. Oh my God.
A mountain, yeah, which inspired him to create the first modern sunscreen a decade later. Took him 10 years, I guess.
Okay. 1942, a top secret experiment was done by the American Medical Association Council of Pharmacy and Chemistry, intending to prevent sunburn in airmen. So when they were flying the planes and were much closer to the sun, apparently they were having a problem with sunburn. They found that dark red veterinary petroleum is an ingredient that possesses the qualities of being waterproof, inexpensive, and free of toxicity.
Wonder what the red was.
Whatever it was very sticky.
Might have been iodine.
Yeah.
1944, a chemist developed copper tone suntan lotion, a much more consumer-friendly formulation.
In 1946, a researcher commercialized the first modern sunscreen under the name of Glacier Cream.
Yeah, in 1956, dermatologists around the world started reporting allergic reaction to PABA containing sunscreen, and PABA was considered to be
labial. Yeah, in other words, PABA wasn't good for you.
So absorbed into the skin deeper, I guess.
Yeah.
So a German physicist in 1956 proposed a testing method to determine the protective factor of a sunscreen, which was later improvised by Franz Greiter.
Yeah, in 1965, PABA was steadily withdrawn from the market, and most of the formulators started labeling their sunscreen PABA-free.
Funny, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
1969,
an American dermatologist.
Described structure damage to the skin due to sun exposure and coined the term photoaging.
Yeah, that was interesting. In 1974, the German scientist coined the term sun protection factor, and that's actually what's SPF. We know as SPF.
It's the ratio of the UV radiation required to produce barely perceptible
erythema
in a sunscreen protected skin to the UV radiation required to produce the same in unprotected skin.
1978, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, hallelujah, adopted SPF to measure the efficacy of sunscreen and regulated the booming sunscreen market.
Yeah, so 1990, we'll skip that 1981, but 1990, most sunscreen in the market were now SPF 15 to 30.
Yeah, avobenzone was the most common ingredient for UVA protection, and oxyl methoxycinnamate was the most common ingredient for UVB protection in sunscreens.
Yeah, so in 1991, a study looked into the transmission of UVA and visible light through a opaque layer of zinc oxide containing sunscreen. Regardless of the thickness of the sunscreen, the transmission of the visible light was not blocked, but adding iron oxide significantly reduced the transmission of sunscreen.
1992, a professor developed a UVA star rating system. If the protection is above 1/3 of the UVB protection, a symbol with UVA in a circle can be used on the packaging.
Yeah, so this gets more and more commercialized. International Agency for Research on Cancer published a study confirming the association between tanning beds and melanoma.
Yeah, I remember when that came out. Yeah. People were good. It's because tanning beds have become so popular.
Right.
And all of a sudden, people were developing melanomas.
Yeah, and I think now a lot of tanning beds are providing less and less of that.
Well, I would hope so. Yeah. Well, let's go to 2018. In Hawaii, octinoxate and oxybenzone were banned because they apparently, when people were swimming with wearing sunscreen with those ingredients, it resulted in coral bleaching.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there was a study on plasma concentration of the 4 commonly available sunscreens.
Which were avobenzone, oxybenzone, octocrylene, and ecamsol.
And they exceeded the level established by the FDA at that time.
So, okay, in 2020, the Color Science Brush-On Shield, which was a powdered sunscreen, recommended by the Skin Cancer Foundation for active use. It was recommended to use alone or over makeup with one application alone.
I never even heard of that.
Neither did I.
I think by that time I quit using all
that
stuff.
Long before that.
Yeah. From natural ingredients like jasmine, rice, olive oil to the more advanced formulations with various chemicals and mineral ingredients, sunscreen has evolved with the increased awareness and sun protection to avoid sunburns, skin cancers, and photo aging.
And, today everybody's screaming, make sure you have plenty of sunscreen on. So, however, there's been still a lot of research into it. And it says, FDA has recommended not using sunscreen in infants less than 6 months and keeping them away from direct sunlight. And how many times have you seen somebody lathering up an infant?
Yeah, for sure. There's actually a list here of a lot of different ingredients. They put them into a couple of different categories.
Well, there's something called generally recognized as safe and effective. And we've mentioned it previously regarding different types of food and chemicals and so on.
Yeah.
And GRASE.
And there's 2 chemicals that they recommend that is safe and effective, which is zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. Yeah. All the other ones are.
And then there are how many here? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
12 and 16. So it's 28.
28 ingredients that they don't want you to use. They're not
in most of the sunscreens, really.
Oh, and I'm sure you'll find combinations of all of them. All right. Well, that gives you kind of a thumbnail history.
Yeah. Some of my own personal history. I remember using the first thing I used because one of my cool friends was using it, and that was baby oil with some iodine. So that would give you a little bit more tanning because of the iodine, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
My sister used to love lying out in the sun, and it's interesting because on my dad's side of the family we had lots of skin cancer, including melanoma, and but my sister took after my mother's side of the family, so she would get golden tan and.
I got tanned, usually laying out in the sun for a couple of hours, and then after a week, then you start really getting tan.
You build a base. There was a whole. There was a whole story.
Of course, I was in Canada then, so we only had really 2 months of being able to do that.
It was the 1950s.
Yes,
and the ozone layer was much thicker, and the sun was different.
The sun was yellow
instead of white.
Yeah, so things have changed.
So. Yeah, it was luckily, because boy, we could really be in trouble.
Of course, then we moved to Florida.
Right.
And that changed everything. And then I realized that if I started out just in the wintertime, we didn't do a lot of beaching. It was mostly in the summertime.
The tourists went to the beach in the winter.
Right.
We did.
That's right. So then I would just lie in the sun for about 30 minutes and then slowly build up time where I could spend a couple of hours after I was tanned. And that seemed to work pretty good. Of course, at that time I was using some kind of sunscreen, but a lot of times I forgot about it. And then when I was into skin diving, scuba diving and stuff like that, then I didn't want to use that because we had already heard about the coral reefs and stuff like that. So, and plus we were using some wetsuits and things like that. Even in the summertime, we were using a smaller wetsuit, which I still have to across. Yeah. But let's go to the next article, which is called Sunscreen.
Is sunscreen toxic?
Yeah, is sunscreen toxic? And what does it really contain? And this is an article by Chris Kressler. Yeah. Natural sunscreens can be a hassle, but there are some very real health concerns associated with ingredients in conventional sunscreens that might encourage you to seek out non-toxic alternatives.
And here we get to the real meat of the story.
Which actually, if we looked at that list that we were just talking about, aluminum really wasn't mentioned at all.
Nope.
Right.
Nope. You know, and about 32 years ago when we met, I stopped using the deodorant that had aluminum in it.
Yeah.
And aluminum had been associated with Parkinson's disease.
Yeah. And I had stopped using that about a decade before.
Right.
Right.
Right. You encouraged me to check it out, and I started using the natural deodorants that don't have aluminum in them. And our parents' generation, there was a lot of Parkinson's because there were aluminum pots. Oh, yeah. And when you stirred the pot, it picked up aluminum.
Just cooking with it and boiling water in it and stuff like that released.
Yeah. So there was people were affected by an accumulation of aluminum in their bodies after a number of years.
Yeah. And for me, being out of college and living on my own, I started using cast iron at that time.
And I was using stainless steel.
Right. Yeah.
So
and now pretty much we use mostly cast iron.
Yeah. So. And we have stainless steel and we have cast iron.
Yeah.
Okay. So it says here,
many
sunscreens also contain aluminum. And for that reason alone, you should use an alternative to a conventional sunscreen. For one sunscreen that was analyzed for aluminum concentration, a single application would provide 200 milligrams of aluminum.
Yeah.
And another concern is that as an oxidant, the aluminum in sunscreen might contribute to oxidative damage to the skin, increasing the risk of cancer.
Yeah. However, of larger concern are the ingredients that actually block UV rays. Sunscreens can block sunlight in two ways: with organic, meaning carbon-based filters, or inorganic filters that act as a physical barrier. So let's first start with the organic UV filters.
Okay. Evidence indicates that organic UV filters are readily absorbed into the skin. One commonly used UV filter, oxybenzone, was detected in the urine, plasma, and breast milk of human volunteers after full-body sunscreen application, and was found in 96% of urine samples collected in the U.S. during 2003 and 2004.
Yeah, many of these chemicals aren't very stable when exposed to UV radiation, and they can form reactive oxygen species, including the often malignant or maligned free radicals, and they cause oxidative damage. One UV filter, PBSA, has been shown to induce DNA damage in human skin cells after exposure to UV rays. This means that the use of chemical sunscreens could increase the risk of cancer. Some filters even lose their ability to block UV rays once they penetrate the top few layers of skin, rendering them useless. To top it off, these compounds also have a common cause of photoallergic contact dermatitis.
Oh, goody.
That doesn't sound too good.
No, no. Beyond the local effects from formation of reactive oxygen species, systemic toxicity becomes a concern since these UV filters are absorbed into the bloodstream. One of the primary concerns is their potential for endocrine disruption. Several animal and in vitro studies have found that adverse developmental and reproductive effects of UV filters. That is, I mean, we already have endocrine disruptors in our food.
Yep.
And probably in our water from the plastics. And
well, plus the just alone the chemicals that they put in
the glyphosate and the fertilizers.
Well, those things, but they use certain chemicals to preserve the water, and that itself has those in it. So,
right. So,
for example, administration of the oxybenzene, the same chemical found in 96% of urine samples in the U.S., to mice resulted in decreased sperm density and increased numbers of abnormal sperm. Just think about in the news, we often hear in the last couple of decades that the sperm counts have gone down and people aren't having as many children, or partially from working, but also probably because it's hard to conceive these days.
Very hard to conceive. And we had talked about this in relationship to the hormones and antibiotics that are in the foods, but now it seems that the chemical sunscreens are also contributing to the abnormalities and to the interruptions.
Yeah, seems like it for sure. Although many animal studies measured toxicity through oral administration, the authors of one review point out that exposure through dermal absorption may pose even greater toxicity risk because of the compounds aren't digested and metabolized by the liver before entering the systemic circulation.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of scary.
Yeah. So now we're talking about the inorganic UV filters, which is primarily zinc oxide and titanium dioxide nanoparticles.
Yeah, that's an issue. You want to be reading labels carefully if you're going to be using anything.
They have a little information about that, but we're going to go down.
Well, I mean, basically they're saying that the both types of nanoparticles, when exposed to UV light, can damage human cells.
Yeah.
And so let's see. It says one problem with sunscreens in general is that often they allow us to stay in the sun for much longer than would typically be considered healthy for our skin. We get sunburned for a reason. It's our bodies telling us to get out of the sun.
Yeah, seems pretty natural, right?
Some sunscreens block the rays that burn us without completely blocking the rays that can cause skin damage. So we might be harming our skin without realizing it.
So for this reason, the best approach to sun exposure is to build up sun tolerance gradually and get in the shade and cover up with a hat and shirt once you've had enough sun. Tanning is fine, but try to avoid being burned. That seems kind of a natural thing, right? We don't want to get burned.
No, but it's a fine line, and people vary so much in their skin and so on. And
also, there was a time I remember that you go out in the sun, you say, okay, we're going to get the first burn. So the next time
then we'll tan.
Then we'll tan afterwards. So that was another idiotic thing to do. But we didn't have much time in Canada. We only had those two months, maybe 12 weeks max sometime. But most of the time in Upper Canada, where I was raised in Sudbury,
hardly any.
Yeah, it was basically you had 2 months I remember jumping in the lake a couple of times earlier than normal,
and jumping out again.
Jumping out pretty fast because it was very cold.
It was so cold.
And now, of course, we're seeking out the cold a lot of times.
Yeah, the cold plunge has become
plunges,
very
exactly.
popular.
So it's kind of everything's kind of changed.
Okay, let's see. So now we have another article that's called
"The Trouble with Ingredients in Sunscreen."
Okay, Food and Drug Administration, which oversees sunscreen safety, said in 2019 and again in 2021 that based on the available information, out of the 16 ingredients it reviewed, only 2,
those are the same too,
zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, are generally recognized as safe and effective.
Or GRASE, GRASE. The FDA proposed that 2 rarely used sunscreen ingredients, which is 4-amino
benzoic acid,
also known as BAPA.
PABA.
Yeah, and the other one are not.
Prolamine salicylate.
Yeah,
they're not generally recognized as safe and effective.
Yeah, so the FDA proposed that 12 other ingredients are not generally recognized as safe and effective, primarily due to the insufficient data rather than the affirmative finding that they are not safe. And they list them all here.
Yeah, the same kind of list is from the other article.
Yeah, the agency has requested additional safety data on these ingredients, but they are still allowed for use in products in the USA. I don't know about Europe or anybody else.
Yeah, well, Europe and other, well, they talk specifically about European markets. Europe seems to have banned quite a few of these things. Okay, FDA studies show that even a one-time application of any of these ingredients, oxybenzone, homosalate, octosalate, octocrylene, avobenzone, and octinoxate, can be absorbed through the skin at levels above 0.5 nanograms per liter, the maximum concentration per milliliter. Thank you. The maximum concentration, the FDA says, may be found in the blood without potential safety concerns. So if it's more than that, then all bets are off, right?
Yeah. Evidence is mounting that of the endocrine disrupting effects of 2 of the ingredients,
which are the oxybenzone and the octinoxate.
Studies have also highlighted concerns about the effects of other ingredients, such as homosalate, avobenzone, octisalate, octocrylene, although evidence is more limited. They're not doing a lot of studies on here. But like you said, in 2021, the European Commission Scientific Committee on Consumer Safety published their final opinions on the safety of these non-minerals, ultraviolet or UV filters. So there's those same ingredients.
And it concluded that homosalate and oxybenzone are not safe in the amounts that they're used.
Yeah.
So the European Union lowered the amount of these filters that are allowed in certain sunscreens.
So all these ingredients are systemically absorbed into the body after typical sunscreen use, according to the studies published by the FDA. And these studies also report that the ingredients can be detected on the skin and in the blood weeks after they were last used.
Other studies have detected sunscreen ingredients in breast milk, urine, and blood plasma samples, confirming that they are absorbed into the body through the skin.
It's also possible for sunscreen users to inhale ingredients in the sunscreen sprays. Yeah, they started using sprays, of course,
right.
And just some of those ingredients when they apply them to their lips.
Yeah. Let's see. And it says the most worrisome sunscreen active ingredient is oxybenzone, according to publicly available scientific research. It is readily absorbed through the skin. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found levels of oxybenzone in people was associated with how much sunscreen they used.
Yeah, investigators at the University of California, Berkeley reported a dramatic drop in teen girls' exposure to these chemicals in cosmetics when they switched from their usual products to replacements without it. This suggests sunscreens are a significant source of exposure.
Oxybenzone in cosmetics has been reported to cause allergic skin reactions and to behave like a hormone disruptor.
Yeah, the 2017 is a review of the 23 studies found evidence of a link between the oxybenzone exposure and reproductive harms.
Man. A 2023 review of 254 studies found mounting evidence that oxybenzone has in endocrine disrupting properties when sunscreen is applied as normal, as it usually is. It's also found people in North America are more exposed to oxybenzone than those living in European and Asian countries. The review said the most concerning consequence of exposure would be the potential reproductive problems.
Yeah.
And I think also, I mean, if you're interrupting and fooling about with the endocrine system and the hormone system, you're going to have a lot of other side effects. It's just not just inability to conceive.
And they don't seem to be doing a lot of studies on these things, especially the manufacturers of these products are not doing it. They're just...
Oh, no. I mean, it's a cash cow, though. It's a huge billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
Just sell these stuff. Let's see what else we got here. The
well, the FDA says it needs further data to determine whether the oxybenzone can be considered safe. It's already pretty much said it's not.
Right. In a 2019 notice, the FDA said the available literature indicates that oxybenzone is absorbed through the skin to a greater extent than previously understood and can lead to significant systemic exposure. The significant systemic availability of oxybenzone is a concern, among other reasons, because of questions raised in the published literature regarding the potential for endocrine activity.
Yeah, there's the National Toxicology Program found that exposing female rats to high level of oxybenzone led to increased thyroid tumors and uterus enlargement. Multiple studies published after this, and the FDA reports that can show that this product can alter the structure of the mammary glands and surrounding cells in mice in ways that may be related to the process through which normal cells transform into cancer cells. You know, with all the cancer that we have reported in around the world, probably, but definitely in the United States. This is a big concern that we think.
Something I would never in a million years have thought of sunscreen as contributing to that, to all of these things.
There's a couple of other products here called octanoxate. And what's the
octylmethoxycinnamate.
Yeah, these are non-minerals UV filter that can cause allergic reactions. Readily absorbed into the skin, continues to be absorbed after sunscreen is applied. A study in 2020 found it in blood samples at levels 16 times above the agency proposed safe threshold.
Oh, in 2024, the European Commission found it could not determine the safety of current octanoxate use levels due to concerns about endocrine disruption and genotoxicity. In other words, interference with DNA.
Yeah.
In 2025, the Commission finalized this opinion, saying it was an endocrine active substance, and despite these concerns, it considers it safe when used as a UV filter up to a maximum concentration of 10%. But meanwhile, the research has shown that it continues to be absorbed after it's applied.
Yeah.
So I don't know about this 10%. It could be 10% in the bottle, but
yeah. A Chinese study, elementary and high school children found exposure to it in boys measured by urinary concentrations were linked to delayed onset of puberty. Another animal study found that
it affects
metabolic system. Yeah.
As with oxybenzone, several countries and Hawaii have banned the sale of sunscreens with octanoxate.
Now, there's another product called homosalate. It's a non-mineral UV filter widely used in the U.S. Screens can penetrate the skin and disrupt hormones.
Citing concerns about potential hormone disruption, the European Commission recently said homosalate was not safe at concentrations of 10%, recommended a maximum concentration of 0.5% in sunscreen products. A concentration limit this low would effectively ban its use in sunscreen.
Yeah, there was another study in European, but the FDA allows the U.S. sunscreen manufacturers to use it up to 15%.
Up to 15%.
Yeah.
And they're saying, in Europe, they say it's dangerous at 10%.
Yeah.
Okay, oxalate, a non-mineral UV filter, readily absorbs through the skin at levels 10 times the FDA's cutoff for recommended systemic exposure.
Yeah, so the study has been linked to allergic dermatitis.
Okay, so the case report shows that the chemical has been a 2026 study reported that when tested in cells, oxalate can induce a stress response, indicating potential impacts on the nervous system.
So all these chemicals here, and we have a whole list of them, you can read them yourself, are really just...
And again, just each one of them seem to have shown disruption of the endocrine system.
Yeah, so the two that are considered pretty safe are the titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. And these are made...
But most of them are made in the form of nanoparticles.
Yeah, so that's so good.
And
so about other ingredients
but the International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies titanium dioxide as possibly causing cancer in humans because it can be inhaled.
Yeah, especially if you're spraying.
Yeah.
Then they have boosters. Many companies use inactive ingredients in their formulations to increase the sun protection factor.
SPF.
Values of their products. They may include antioxidants that reduce skin redness or ingredients that absorb UV light, like
butyloxyl salicylate.
And
there are safety concerns, however, about that butyloxyl salicylate and other salicylates, and they stem from their potential absorption and that they can metabolize into salicylic acid.
Yeah, so there's a lot of concerns about this whole thing. The final,
it sure gives you pause, gives you something to think about when we think about all the things that are happening around us in our environment and the people, how the people are being affected by all these things. We hear so many stories of people who are having problems with reproduction. We got people who are all messed up. We have lots of autoimmune diseases. We have people who are confused about their sexual identity. And all of this is related to hormones and endocrine disruption. And I never thought about sunscreen. Sunscreen is used, it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere.
Well, also remember that a lot of the makeup that is being used in society too, especially more females, certainly use more makeup than men do. Some men do. But the thing is that anything that you put on your skin is going to be absorbed. That just seems like a natural thing. And we have a lot of concerns naturally. We talk a lot about food and water. So anything that you take in is going to be a concern, whether it's going to cause problems for you with your health.
Whatever you're eating,
and it accumulates. So
you're eating, you're drinking, and what you're putting on your skin.
It just makes sense.
All of those things go inside your body.
Yeah. The final article we have is specifically about cancer. Study finds sunscreen is use linked to higher risk of multiple skin cancers.
A United Kingdom biobank study involving over 470,000 people found that individuals who reported using sunscreen more frequently had substantially higher risk of multiple skin cancers, even after researchers accounted for possible confounding factors like age, sex, skin type, tanning ability, sunburn history, sun lamp use, and time spent outdoors.
And they have some worrisome findings.
Worrisome findings. Melanoma, a plus 292% higher risk. Basal cell carcinoma, a plus 140% higher risk. Squamous cell carcinoma, a plus 126% higher risk. That's a lot.
Yeah, the researchers categorized sun protection habits from never, rarely to always and found the strongest association among the most frequent sunscreen users. In other words, the more sunscreen you use reported, the higher observed skin cancer. So it's actually opposite of what they're telling you. Naturally, if you burn a lot, that's going to cause cancers and other problems with your skin. But if you're just using common sense, like our ancestors did, or just cover up, or maybe using some products like maybe baby lotion that we used to use just to keep your skin moisturized, and just be sensible about it. Just makes sense that you're not going to have any problems.
Many chemical sunscreens, again, this is another article that is pointing out the same thing. Many chemical sunscreens contain hormone disruptors that are rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream. And some formulations have been found contaminated with benzene, which is a known human carcinogen.
Yeah, and then there's the vitamin D issue. Sunlight is how the body produces the vitamin D, a hormone precursor involved in immune regulation, cellular repair, inflammation control, and cancer defense. People who never receive sunlight exposure without sunscreen are likely to become vitamin D deficient.
And that doesn't mean that people should recklessly burn in the sun. Sunburns are clearly harmful. Aim for sensible sunlight exposure, spending enough time in the sun to reap the benefits without reaching the point of burning. If you'll be out in the sun for hours on end during midsummer, consider opting for zinc-based, which are mineral sunscreens, rather than the heavily absorbed chemical formulations.
Yeah, the takeaway is not to fear sunlight, but to respect it. And that's,
boy, I'll tell you, it's scary stuff.
Yeah, I think it's an apt time of year to talk about this. And yeah, we don't
read your ingredients, and if you're going to use a sunscreen, keep this article in mind, and keep several articles in mind.
Yeah.
Look at the labels and read the ingredients.
But I also don't go in the sun, when it's midday out here. We're at altitude, which means
it's even worse.
Yeah. And usually when I go out for my walks in the woods have a lot of shade. There are parts that are, I usually walk for a little less than an hour, and probably half of that is in the sun, half of it's in the shade.
But you're also walking at like 8:45 in the morning.
Yeah. Or early. I'm not going out at 1 or 2 o'clock.
Right. Not at midday.
So just common sense. I think that's about
common sense, the oxymoron for the 21st century.
Anyway, that's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and do some your own research, and get sunlight. You need it. And I actually stopped wearing the sunglasses most of the time too, unless I'm driving and it's right in front of me.
That time of day.
And I found my eyes are a lot more sensitive now, and less sensitive when I'm not putting my sunglasses on hardly ever. And now I'm getting used to it. Where before I was squinting a little bit more, but now I've gotten used to it. And I think this is where we get most of the vitamin D's through your eyes.
Yeah, well, we reported previously in other podcasts about that the sun taken through your eyes is very good for your mitochondrial health.
Yeah. So I stopped. I still having sunglasses. It's a cool look and everything like that. But,
oh wow, that's why you wear.
They say that on TV, folks. Anyway, that's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And do your own research, and we'll see you next time.
Be safe and be well.
Bye.